things that struck me when Nicole and I first talked about this presentation. First, the idea that data analytics can be valuable to organizations of any size. And second was her desire to share what her town had developed, particularly with other municipalities that might not think they can do this. My guest is Nicole Cooper, the Director of Legislative and Information Service from the town of Ajax. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, the town of Ajax, you corrected me on that. The town of Ajax is bigger than the city that I was born in, but it's still a modest-sized municipality there. Mm-hmm. Now, you did a strategic plan, and then your team started to put together some ways to make data visible and visual based on that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're currently in about year 4 of a 5-year strategic plan. And as we get towards the end of it, we're definitely starting to focus more on projects that surround data and how we're using it to run our business better.
Now, you did some initial work with open data. And I think when we were talking, you said you didn't get the traction you hoped you would get from that.
Well, sort of. Open data was very trendy, something all municipalities were getting into probably around 8 or 10 years ago. And so we certainly got on board. We launched an open data site, and it's actually fairly well utilized. I didn't mean to suggest otherwise, but my concern is that it's only really usable by a certain segment of the population. We tend to see users of open data being, journalists, academics who are somehow skilled in harnessing that data in ways that they can drive meaning from. But it's not super accessible to just your average person who's trying to find information about their community.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing with open data. The people who know how to use it have got it, but then what do you do with the rest of the people? And so you did something cool. You started some projects on your own using Power BI and I think Esri, which is a great Canadian mapping software. But this isn't a story about the tools. This is about what you've been able to accomplish with the tools, even though a relatively small municipality. And these are the same tools that almost any municipality could acquire or may have already.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why I wanted to highlight some of these projects today, because they're not particularly earth-shattering. They're just simple interactive applications. We've just kind of found some creative ways to serve up data in a way that's useful for people. But I think these are just small projects that are high value, but they're accessible to municipalities of any size. They're scalable. Anybody with a modest amount of GIS or data talent can do something just like this and find it useful.
Great. So tell me about some of the projects.
Just to kind of cue it up, I think municipalities often don't realize just how rich our business is in useful data, and especially geospatial data. So we're starting to sort of turn our minds to data as a key corporate asset, and we're looking for creative ways to take these big data sets, make them easily accessible, and use them to provide insights into our business. So I'll show you a couple examples of that, some inward facing, some outward facing. Just looking at how we can display large amounts of data, pulling data in from multiple sources, and then, as I said, serving them up in a way that can reveal patterns for people, help users to gain insights, visualize options, and just sort of better derive meaning from data in a way that we can't when it's in a tabular or some sort of unstructured format. So the first one I'll show and talk about is just a simple mapping application. This is an inward-facing one that we made for our fire department. So the purpose is really just allowing our fire department and the people that work in it to visualize fire-related incidents and incident patterns over the years. So we're bringing in data from a number of different applications, geocoding it along with important attributes like cause, alarm counts, and then sort of adding in additional data sets to enhance the map. So information on our outreach locations for our fire prevention program, basement apartment locations. And these things all taken together and served up in something visual, it's really useful for our fire department in, for example, improving planning, preparedness, response, risk reduction, looking at where we should target our outreach initiatives to get the most bang for our bucks. So that's the first one. So the next one I was going to highlight, again, super simple. This is just an interactive mapping application that's highlighting the locations of the various capital projects that we're proposing for within our 2023 budget. It is budget season right now, so this is very topical. So what this does is residents are able to actually visually identify projects that are taking place in their neighborhoods using this easy to use application. It's interactive. Our projects are symbolized by category. So if you're interested in roads or parks or what have you, you can filter the results by those options. Maybe you're just interested in what's happening in like the geographic area immediately where you live, your own neighborhood. So that's sort of like the beauty of the interactive element. This one really shows, I think, the evolution from the way that we used to present this type of information in like a big budget document, a PDF, just pages and pages. You'd have to sift through to find something that was actually relevant to you. Now you can filter it all in a way that's meaningful to you.
Fabulous. Yeah.
So the third example, this is the one that I'm most excited about. I'm actually a municipal clerk by trade, so this one is really close to my heart. So if you think about a municipality, a clerk's department, we've got, hundreds of years of unstructured data on council and committee decisions. And it lives in these formats that are not useful to us. So agendas, minutes, reports. And what we've done in Ajax is we've taken all that information and placed it into a database format and then displayed it in this Power BI dashboard. So we've captured basically every available data point in relation to each and every council decision. So what meeting it was approved at, what ward it's relevant to, who the mover and seconder was the recommendation amended, was there a recorded vote, blah, 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 endless. But it's displayed in this interactive dashboard using Power BI. And the result of that is this really, really powerful accountability tool that can be used by, for example, the CAO, or council even, to sort of like track progress on all council assigned deliverables, distribute workloads, catching dropped balls, measuring organizational performance, all these things. That's just a sort of an example from the clerk side of things. It's not geospatial, but it's information that existed in this completely useless format that's now usable in a much more sophisticated way.
Now, have you shown this to council yet?
Not yet.
Because I can't wait to see their reaction on this. This is fabulous. I've been to my own municipal council meetings. They're pretty dry. There's a lot of stuff, and it's really hard to keep track of things. And this picture is like, this is exactly what they need.
All of these projects evolve from a business need, a problem we need to solve, right? And in this case, the CAO had a problem that he needed to solve. Balls were being dropped. He couldn't remember where they were. He didn't have a complete picture of what is everything that council has assigned us? What are we behind on? What have we accomplished? And so that's really what this tool was built for, as a management tool for the CAO. But the possibilities are endless. Eventually, it will be more sort of tailored for council's purpose and for their audience.
That's the wisdom of doing analytics. Find a problem, however simple, that somebody needs solved, and solve it. Good for you. So what challenges did you have when you were rolling these out?
I think one of the big challenges is that a lot of the data that we want to use, that we want to harness, isn't in a data format yet. So the example I just gave about the council decision dashboard, all of that information, super, super valuable, but it was in this like unstructured, unusable format. If you wanted to find something, you're sifting through PDFs and Microsoft Word documents from, 20, 30 years ago. So the initial challenge is at times like transferring these large data sets into a database format so that we can actually display them, manipulate them, filter them.
Good stuff. Now, was there an aha moment when you showed this to someone and you went, wow, we really nailed this one?
Maybe not a single one, but I think organizationally, these little mini projects that we're doing have really got departments thinking about, okay, what data do I have? How can I harness it? How can I show it to the public? How can I tell a story with it? So I like to think there's a lot of these sort of aha moments happening across the organization, and we're sort of just at the beginning of doing more with data.
Great. And what have you learned from doing this?
The power of data, really. And I guess another thing is like the value of people who are good at this stuff. We've really started growing our GIS and data team this year. And like talent in that area just pays dividends. It's such an important area to invest in right now.
Yeah, I know. When we first talked about this and I said, this is a great accomplishment, you were really careful to say, this is a team. So building a team that can get behind this must be a real part of the secret.
It is, yeah. And you know what? It's becoming tougher. Like recruitment and retention in IT, especially in data and data science is really tough right now, especially for municipalities, because we can't pay the big bucks like the private sector can. But if you can find talent in this area and find a way to keep it, then you're golden.
Yeah. So what do you want to do next?
Oh, I think we're just at the beginning here. I mean, the possibilities are endless. We're just getting into Power BI, but holy moly, is that a powerful tool. So I talked a little bit about sort of the roadmap for the council decision dashboard. Right now, it's just a tool that we're using internally, but talk about like the possibilities for, putting something out into the public where the public service is actually held accountable for delivering on the things that are assigned to us. So that's kind of the trajectory of that tool, but we're not quite there yet.
Well, great. So a great citizen experience, keeping track of things that are difficult, informing people. You've solved a lot of problems with this. I can see other municipalities saying, I really want to try this. How could a smaller municipality get started?
What I love about these projects is they're attainable by municipalities of any size. These tools, I mean, Esri tools, Power BI, not super expensive. The skill set needed to build these things is not super intense. We can find this talent, but I think like where the starting point for municipalities and for people in this sector is what we just talked about, Jim, is like, what is the business problem I need to solve? That's always the starting point. So in the example of the decision dashboard, we have business areas that are dropping balls. How can we identify where they are? And from that develops the idea and the tool. And so I think that's kind of always the starting point.
Great. Nicole, thank you. And on behalf of a lot of municipalities who are going to pick this up and probably some might bug you with questions, thank you from them as well. This has been great.
Yes, thank you very much. Take care.